Hello and welcome to part 3 of our deep dive into intuitive eating. As promised, in this session, we're going to explore diet voices. So these are the voices that tend to be a little bit destructive and unhelpful. So we've all heard about the inner critic, haven't we? That's the voice in your head that says all those unkind things that leaves you feeling anxious, low, worried, catastrophizing, all of those things. But what was discovered by the founders of intuitive eating, who are Evelyn Triboli and Elise Reich, is the fact that these voices change from moment to moment. And they come into play at different times, but they can equally be as powerful as each other. And they are, as I said, quite destructive. But whilst we have these destructive voices, we also have some very powerful ally voices. So there are voices that we can cultivate who can respond and retort to those negative voices, those negative thoughts, until such time as we are able to shrink them down and make them disappear. But the first step really is bringing our awareness, because when we can bring awareness to the fact that these voices are presenting themselves, and they're presenting us with what we call cognitive distortion. So they tend to be beliefs that we have about something that aren't necessarily founded in knowledge or what we're experiencing in the body. But because our brain cannot distinguish between thoughts and facts, we can quite often tumble it all up, and we can begin to experience what is a cognitive distortion as a fact, and it can become a very strong belief that can leave us feeling very low and very stuck in that diet cycle. So today we're going to start with exploring some of those more destructive voices. So the three main voices that keep us stuck to dieting are the food police, the nutrition informant, and the diet rebel. And when you can begin to unpick and listen to who's talking at which times, then we can begin to send them on their way. So let's start with probably one of the loudest, and that is the food police. Who is the food police? What do they say and why? So the food police is your judge and jury. The food police has developed this set of rules, and these rules have tended to be cultivated after each diet. And every time we diet, they get a little bit stronger because we tend to add another rule, which only goes to confuse things, and we end up being in the situation where we just don't know what to eat anymore. It's something I hear again and again and again. So it's your judge and your jury. It's a very strong voice, and it bases its authority, perceived authority, on a set of rules. So common rules the food police might have will be things like, cut the bagel, too many carbs, definitely too many carbs. Or you didn't do any exercise today, so you must only have a really small dinner. Or you're going out tomorrow night for cocktails with the girls, so don't eat much lunch. The food police is one of the food voices that can't be flipped. We can't switch it into an ally voice. It is just a destructive one. And it's really pervasive. And even when you're going on this journey of healing, you're going to hear it keep popping up. So bringing our awareness to it is really important, and be able to say, aha, hold on a minute, that's the food police thought. And it's not helpful, and it's not helpful for many ways. So for example, let's have an example of how the food police might manifest. You wake up, I'm going to have a good day. Today I'm going to be really good, because you're placing a moral judgment on the foods you're eating and how you're eating. I'm going to be really good, and because I'm good, I'm only going to have a black coffee and a yogurt for my breakfast. So of course your blood sugar crashes. By mid-morning, you're really hungry. Someone brings in muffins at work. Your body, your lizard brain has taken over because it needs to get your blood sugar level back up to a safe level. So you grab the muffin, and then the food police perks up. What now? You ate a muffin, you've blown it, you were trying to be good today. What on earth are you doing? You better not have much at lunch. So at lunch you may have, you think, I'll just have an apple. I'll have an apple and maybe just a bread roll. Okay, of course, again, on that blood sugar roller coaster, it's going to crash. Your rational brain's not going to get a say in this anymore. By the time you get home, you are so hungry. You're so hungry. You are craving all the carbohydrates. Primal hunger has been triggered, and you go on a, you've face planted the biscuit tin or the bread bin or the fridge. quite frankly, and that's beyond your control. And then the food police comes back in. What did you do? You blew it. Oh, for goodness sake. See, I told you, you need to eat less. Tomorrow, start again. That's the food police voice. Not helpful. So when we can begin to challenge the food police thought, when we can actually say, hold on a minute, no, I know I need carbohydrates for energy, and carbohydrates for energy, and I have more energy and I'm able to concentrate when I eat carbohydrates. When you know that skipping meals doesn't support you from a stamina or energy concentration point of view, you can begin to retort to that voice, and you can begin to push back against it, and you'll find that perhaps that backlash eating, that potential overeating that can happen later in the day, the fixation on particular foods and food cravings that can feel quite emotional, or you can feel slightly out of control around certain foods, they can come to an end. So yes, the first one is the food police. So the second voice is quite a sneaky one, because it hides behind the facade of health and healthy eating. So this voice is the nutrition informant. And it's one of the voices that can be flipped. So we can use this as a positive and powerful ally, but whilst it's still tied up with the food police, it's just another way of controlling what you're eating, but under the guise of wellness. So it's that voice that will say things like, absolutely, have 2 snacks a day, but you can only eat fruit and vegetables because they're healthy, only fruit and vegetables. And then that voice ties in with the food police and will say things like, you can't be hungry at lunchtime because you had a healthy apple snack. You can't be hungry yet. You probably need to wait for lunch. It's that voice. But how can it be helpful? Well, we can flip it. We can flip it to become an ally voice. So it's a voice that helps you make decisions based on that body-food congruence. So how did that food make me feel? Did I feel, if I ate just biscuits for my snack, did I have the same energy as I would if I ate those biscuits with maybe a piece of fruit and a yogurt, because I've then got some fiber, protein and fats? See what I mean? That's the nutrition ally versus the nutrition informant. And the final destructive voice is the diet rebel. So the diet rebel tends to present when we have a history of people invading our boundaries. So it may be that you have grown up having been put on a diet, or grown up with people commenting on your body shape or your eating, or even in adult life, people commenting on, for example, are you sure you need that second portion? Are you really hungry? Are you really hungry for that? And that can trigger, because we don't always have the confidence to voice our boundaries, it can trigger that rebellious diet rebel, that up yours. And that may present things such as, if you have a member, so perhaps it's your other half. Your other half's really into gym and fitness and feels the need to comment on things. And as a result, when they're not around, you find yourself eating things without them. You think, I wonder how many of these biscuits I can get in before he gets back, because I just don't want him, up yours. The thing is with the diet rebel voice is it can become very overpowering, and it can tip into self-destructive kind of behaviour, and that's where we can perhaps see overeating behaviour, and it can be tightly tied to that feeling of self-deprecation and self-loathing and those negative emotions, at the same time as wanting to kick back against having had our boundaries, our body, our decisions, our choices invaded by external people, voices and opinions. So how can we flip it to become an ally voice? So the ally voice is your rebel ally, and that voice is there to help you protect your boundaries. So you can say things like, no thank you, I don't need a second portion, I am fine. Or, this is my body, you don't have a right to comment on it. And what you're doing there is that you are using your voice instead of using food to assert your boundary and Feel like you have control. Because that's the thing, when we rebel, what we're trying to do is grab back some control from those external influences. But by using your voice, you can do it in a really polite, assertive manner. You are using that instead of food to create your boundaries. And there are two more voices that we can use as ally voices. And they are the food anthropologist and the nurturer. So the food anthropologist is really tightly tied to the expression we use a lot in Reframe Club, which is to approach this with curiosity and not self-judgment. So the food anthropologist is that neutral observer. It's that voice that looks at things from a non-judgmental point of view and helps you learn from experience. So it's that voice that helps you join the dots. So for example, I was really busy this morning and I skipped breakfast, but I found by mid-morning I was so tired, I couldn't concentrate at work and I ended up eating 2 Mars bars out of the vending machine. I must, next time, tomorrow, I'm going to make sure I make time for breakfast. I felt guilty when I ate pudding last night. I wonder why I felt guilty. Had I read something on social media? Have I been exposing myself to a bit of, was it Jane at work talking about diets? No judgment, just an observation of how you felt. And why the food anthropologist is a powerful voice is it helps you sift through for the facts. And when we can get to the facts, we can join the dots for ourselves and we can begin to disassociate those cognitive distortions, so the thoughts that aren't based on facts, that have become beliefs, with the truth of the matter. And the final voice is probably my favourite. It's the nurturer. And the nurturer is the gentle, supportive, caring voice. It's your grandma. It's your best friend. It's the way we talk to ourselves that we would talk to someone we are nurturing and we love and care about. It's a voice of support and positivity. So it will say things to you like, I'm getting better at getting in touch with my own needs every day. I really overate today. I wonder what was going on. I think I might be really tired or emotional. I think what I need is to go and run a hot bath and go to bed early. I'm doing so well. I'm really being able to tune into my hunger cues and eat on a regular basis. And I feel like I've got loads more energy as a result. I feel like I'm doing a really good job. And the nurturer is probably the key voice to helping you on this journey towards becoming an intuitive eater. She's your best friend, he's your best friend, your ally, your cheerleader, and that kind, loving place, that self-compassionate place that all of these changes should be coming from. And becoming an intuitive eater is the amalgamation of all those powerful ally voices, and we will move from them from moment to moment. So you may find yourself at Christmas protecting your boundaries and saying, Uncle John, this is my body, not for you to comment on. Recognizing that, my stomach's rumbling. That means I'm hungry. I should really go and eat. Going out for dinner with your friends and thinking, what is it I really fancy on this menu? I know I'll take some nuts with that fruit for snack, because when I do that and I combine them, I feel fuller for longer and I have more energy. That's pulling all the threads of all those voices together to become what truly is an intuitive eater. So how do I practice flipping those voices? Well, we practice it by replacing a distorted thought or a cognitive distortion with a more rational explanation. So with today's exercise, with this session, you will find a PDF called Cognitive Flexibility, the Power of 3. And that's practicing a common thought, so bringing your awareness to a common thought you might have. So for example, on this one, we've got, if I eat that biscuit, I'm going to be so unhealthy. Okay, that's a statement. That's a statement that's something that the food police may present with. So the power of 3 is coming up with 3 rational retorts, ally responses that you can provide to push back against that thought. So you can either use the worksheet that I provided with this session, or really lovely exercises just on a plain piece of paper or in a journal. Draw a line down the middle. And on the left, think of all those voices that often creep up in your head. And sometimes they take the shape of Aunt Gladys, who has always got something to say, or the rebellious voice, or whatever the voices are. List those statements. And then see if you can identify the voice. Is it a food police voice? Is it my diet rebel voice? Is it my nutrition informant trying to hide diet talk under health, under the guise of health? Which voice is it that's speaking? And then on the right hand side of the page, try and write a supportive ally response. So for example, your automatic negative thought, food police thought, will be, if I eat this biscuit, I'm going to be really unhealthy. So examples of ally responses could be, if I eat this biscuit, I will be satisfied and be able to move on with my day. Eating biscuits doesn't make you unhealthy. If I eat this biscuit, I may discover actually it's not a big deal and the sky didn't fall in and I'm still well and healthy and my day can move on. And then the next part of the exercise is learning to distinguish those voices as experiences in the mind, the body, or perhaps self-care. So which of those voices are cognitive distortions? What are they telling us in terms of perhaps an action we need to take? Or are they a cue in the body? And again, they will help you begin to sift through those voices and identify which ones are destructive and which ones are ally voices. And there may be some overlap there. So for example, I can't be hungry, I've just had breakfast. That's a thought, so that's coming from the mind. It's a food police thought, but actually what's happening in my body, what cues am I getting in my body? I am hungry, that's a body cue. And the self-care response may be, I know that my body is asking me for energy and this thought isn't a fact and I can go and eat. I've got a long drive ahead, don't know what time I'm going to get there, I should probably pack a snack. Okay, that's self-care, that's your nurturer and your food anthropologist who has learnt from previous experience working together. I didn't exercise today, but I ate loads and I don't feel like I should have been hungry all day because I didn't exercise. Well, that's a judgmental thought and it's probably coming from the food police. As I said, that one's a really strong voice. So we need to shift ourselves to what's our body telling us. Well, you're hungry, so it does have an energy need. So pull into that nutrition ally, pull into that the food anthropologist who's told you previously that there are reasons why you might be hungry when from the previous day, hormones, lack of sleep, just a hungry day. And self-care, the nurturing voice, will help you shift to honouring your hunger has helped you feel like you have more energy and you feel well, so go and eat. And I've also included a little breakdown table with those voices and how they are helpful or unhelpful for you. But yes, when we can bring our awareness to those voices and we can practice an ally response to those cognitive distortions, we can really begin to shift ourselves away from the dieter voices to those of an intuitive eater. In the next session, I would like to bring emphasis to discovering satisfaction and fullness. Now, we don't explore that much in the beginning course over in My Nutrition and My Mind, because it's really important on the journey to becoming an intuitive eater that you learn how to honour your hunger first. It's really important that you know how to balance your blood sugar. You're eating at regular intervals, and sometimes that does require us to put a framework around our eating, like 3 meals and a couple of snacks a day to begin with, because we've got to tune back in. We need to know what hunger feels like. So it's really important that you are there first, When you feel like you are well bedded into meeting your body's energy needs, you know what hunger feels like in the body again, and you've got a nice stable blood sugar balance going, then we just exploring fullness and perhaps in a little bit more detail the fear of fullness, which can be a legacy of dieting. We are taught that we must feel empty all the time, which is just bizarre, but it is. That's what diet culture has done. So we're going to explore that in a little bit more detail, but we're also going to explore the importance of satisfaction and how you can get it from food, only food.